Big breaking updates from Manchester United. Is Kobby Mainoo's contract turning into a risky transfer gamble? Has Michael Carrick made a key demand after a reported verbal agreement? Could Casemiro really push for a Real Madrid reunion? And is Jesse Lingard heading for a shock return to Old Trafford? Plus, we reveal 5 massive transfer blunders that left United with the highest net spend in world football. Make sure you watch till the end and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for daily MUFC updates. MUFC taking Kobby Mainoo transfer risk as latest contract stance emerges. Kobby Mainoo has seen his Manchester United career rejuvenated by Michael Carrick after falling out of favour during Ruben Amorim's tenure, all amid uncertainty over his long-term future. Kobby Mainoo has been one of the stars of Michael Carrick's budding tenure at Manchester United, but despite his newfound status as a nailed-on starter, his long-term future at Old Trafford remains uncertain. Mainoo, 20, rejected a contract offer from United around this time last year with Ruben Amorim having then recently been appointed. As Amorim's tumultuous spell in charge continued, the midfielder fell increasingly out of favour, until Amorim was sacked by the Red Devils in January. Mainoo hadn't made a single start in the Premier League this season. The United Academy graduate was heavily linked with a departure in the winter transfer window, and Italian giants Napoli were known admirers after failing to land Mainoo in the summer. After Carrick was named interim manager, Mainoo was immediately reinstated and has started all 6 games under his new boss. But this summer, when he could be playing for England at the World Cup, he'll have entered the final 12 months of his current deal, and talks over a renewal are yet to be reopened. That's according to The Sun, who add that Mainoo remains keen to stay at Old Trafford. United intend to renew his contract, but they haven't formally engaged with his representatives since talks broke down last year. Crucially, the Red Devils have the option to extend Mainoo's deal by an extra year until 2028. However, the 10-time England international is hoping to earn a new contract which would represent a significant improvement of his relatively modest £25,000 a week wages. As we approach the summer, United won't want a club sniffing around Mainoo and turning his head. Chelsea and Bayern Munich have previously been linked with the 20-year-old who signed professional terms with United in 2023. The Red Devils are already set to be one midfielder down when the summer transfer window opens, as Casemiro has confirmed that he'll be leaving upon the expiry of his contract in June. And if Carrick gets the job permanently, there's no doubt that he'll want Mainoo in his squad. I've known Kobbie a long time, Carrick told BBC Sport ahead of Monday's 1-0 win away to Everton. I started working with him when I think he was 13 or 14 when I was starting to do my coaching badges a good few years ago. Just little bits he told. And then, obviously, when I was here the first time, he was in and around a little bit. So I think knowing him and having experience with him and seeing him perform at such a level on such big occasions, I said earlier about coaches being able to cope with being here and at the level to deal with it. What Kobbie's done at such a young age is quite incredible, really. Mainoo will be hoping to further his case for a new deal when United host Crystal Palace on Sunday. The Red Devils are looking to make it 7 games unbeaten since Carrick's appointment.
Man United handed key Michael Carrick demand after verbal agreement reached. Former Manchester United forward Dion Dublin has urged the Red Devils to stick with Michael Carrick on a permanent basis after his impressive unbeaten start. Former Manchester United striker Dion Dublin has warned his old club that it would be a mistake to replace Michael Carrick at the end of the season. Carrick has made an impressive start to his second stint in the Old Trafford hot seat, stepping in as Ruben Amorim's interim successor until the season's close. The ex-midfielder has returned to the dugout and already steered United into a favourable position in the battle for Champions League qualification. The Reds have remained undefeated under Carrick, securing 5 wins from their 6 matches, including notable triumphs over Manchester City, Arsenal and Tottenham. Currently occupying 4th place, they are merely 3 points adrift of 3rd-placed Aston Villa. Despite widespread knowledge that United's board planned to appoint a new permanent manager in the summer, there's increasing demand for Carrick to be awarded the role full-time. Dublin, speaking to OLBG, has suggested that making Carrick the permanent manager might not be such a poor decision after all. He said, "I think you have to leave it as it is because if it's working, then don't mess with it. Don't tinker with it." The players seem to be on board with Michael. They seem to be enjoying themselves, which is most importantly, they seem to be enjoying their football again, is getting good results. The energy levels from the players and body language is very different. The dressing room seems to believe that what they are doing is the right thing. I suppose the question is, can he keep it going? Well, what manager can do that? What manager can consistently win and win and win? I just think you leave it as it is. United at this present time, and it hasn't been for years, is stable. It's stable. It's strong. And when you watch Man United now, and I've been in the stands a few times at some of Michael's matches, it's like watching Man United, which is very odd. It hasn't been like that for a long time. The ex-Aston Villa striker Dublin admitted that United will undoubtedly consider big-name contenders like Zinedine Zidane. Yet he remains convinced Carrick has demonstrated he possesses the credentials to succeed at the theatre of dreams. But the biggest and the best allegedly have had a go, Dublin continued. Have had a go before, Michael, and it just hasn't worked. You know, the best up-and-coming, the best coaches, the best football, the best results in Portugal, the best results in Germany, whatever it may be, they're all getting the best results. But who's done what Michael's done? Whilst you've got a vehicle moving forward smoothly with great results, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Let it carry on moving forward. How far could it go? It's down to the players and Michael. Dublin's comments regarding Zidane follow reports earlier this month suggesting that he has verbally agreed to take over as the next head coach of the France national team. Casemiro's Man United exit plan outlined despite plea with Real Madrid reunion possible. Casemiro is due to leave Manchester United on a free transfer when his contract expires this summer, and the Brazil midfielder is still keen on staying in Europe. Casemiro is seeking a move to another elite European club this summer, rather than relocating to Saudi Arabia or the United States. Manchester United confirmed during January that the midfielder will depart when his contract runs out on the 30th of June. Casemiro's agreement contains a clause to extend by a further year, but the club have opted not to retain him for a fifth year. With fewer than 6 months left on his existing contract, the Brazil international can negotiate a pre-contract arrangement with clubs beyond England. No agreement has yet emerged publicly. However, Casemiro is understood to be eager to remain in Europe. The Sun reports sources close to the player have suggested Italy represents a possible destination. They point to his former Real Madrid teammate Luka Modric and his transfer to AC Milan last summer as a precedent. Casemiro is 6.5 years younger than the 2018 Ballon d'Or recipient, who celebrated his 40th birthday in September. He has also devoted the past 13 years of his career to playing European football since departing Sao Paulo in January 2013, initially on loan, for Madrid. Speculation regarding a switch to Italy comes after former United striker Dion Dublin's appeal for Casemiro to remain. He told OLBG that United ought to allocate some of their transfer funds to offer him fresh terms. Dublin said, Casemiro's been sort of 75% and has had his dips where people said, oh, his legs are gone, oh, his legs are gone, he can't run around anymore, he can't do this, he can't do that. To be honest with you, I retired at 39. My legs went about 33. If you can do your job and you're clever with it, then I think you'll have a long time in the game. I retired at 39, so I knew how to manage my body. The managers that I had knew how to manage me. Just do 2 or 3 days of training. That's fine, because they knew what they get on a match day. I think it's the same with Casemiro. His footballing brain and knowledge are just outstanding. If you watch Casemiro, who tries to play a pass and it gets cut out, and then the other team go and breaks, and they might have had a chance, but if that pass comes up again, he'll try it again. I just think you have to try and find somebody when he goes that's as brave as him, as clever as him, and as Man United as him, to be honest with you, because he's loved it. Absolutely, I like watching him play. Jesse Lingard in line for shock Man United reunion after latest transfer twist. Jesse Lingard had been linked with clubs from the Premier League and Serie A, but is now on the cusp of sealing a move to one of Brazil's most famous football teams. Jesse Lingard is now in advanced talks with Corinthians over a 1-year deal after previously discussing a move to their divisional rivals, Remo. The former Manchester United and England attacker, 33, is a free agent after leaving FC Seoul back in December. And Lingard looks poised to continue playing overseas with strong interest in his services from Brazil, first from Remo and now Corinthians. ESPN Brazil report that Lingard and Corinthians are attempting to close a deal which would see the winger join them. It is noted that financial issues have been resolved and that the club are now working to wrap up the final aspect of the proposed agreement. If Lingard does put pen to paper with Corinthians, then he would line up alongside a familiar face in the former Manchester United forward, Memphis Depay. Lingard, a product of the Manchester United Academy, played alongside Depay during the 2015-16 season, though the Netherlands international fell out of favour soon after and was sold to Lyon in January 2017. While Depay's time at Old Trafford was short and sweet, Lingard clocked up years of service, making 385 appearances for the Red Devils and scoring 77 goals in total. It had been reported earlier this year that Lingard had held talks with Premier League clubs over a possible return to England, while there was also strong Serie A interest in the attacker's services. With Lingard seemingly all but certain to continue his career overseas, the winger, who scored 10 goals in 34 games during his final K-League season with FC Seoul, previously explained that a desire to feel love was the driving force behind his decision to move to South Korea. When looking for my next club, it felt important to go somewhere I was loved and appreciated, and after I returned to Manchester, FC Seoul sent 2 of their main people all the way there just to watch me train and play in a 5-a-side game. He said, "The idea of Korea grabbed me. Not just a different challenge, but a new environment and culture. FC Seoul is one of the biggest clubs in the K-League, with a fantastic stadium. So I said yes." 5 Man United transfer blunders that gave club highest net spend in the WRLD Manchester United's net spend over the last 5 years have been laid bare in a UEFA report which shows they have spent more than any team in the world, with a concerning return for that investment. Manchester United's recruitment and retention in the years since Sir Alex Ferguson has painted a bleak picture, but never more so than in the last 5 years. Their net spend on transfer over the past half a decade has been the highest in the world, and yet they are no closer to being the dominant force in the Premier League. They are not even regulars in the Champions League. In fact, for spending a net fee of £692 million, the Manchester outfit only have an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup to show for it. That figure is across a 5-year period, detailed in a UEFA financial report. They have spent more than Chelsea, £656 million, and Arsenal, £587 million, but their squad still has a number of holes. This summer has shown some green shoots with proven performers Brian Bumo and Mateus Cunha both being signed. Benjamin Sesko, despite a slow start, was regarded among the best young strikers in Europe. But since 2021, United have had 3 permanent managers, seen a new ownership structure come in, major changes to their hierarchy, which includes differing sporting directors. Add it all up and you get a plethora of different strategies, the majority of which haven't worked. It means huge sums have been spent on players who have underdelivered, a narrative that has continued to drag on. Equally, the club have overlooked players they've had on their books. In the years after Ferguson's departure, the club had a thing for big names, often downplaying some of the talent they already possessed. They've looked to move away from that, but the success of players in their post-Old Trafford era suggests they are still getting it wrong. The numbers don't lie, and United's reputation for being poor at buying and selling is not baseless, as we detail some of their biggest failings in the market. Ten Hag's Anthony Wish. If anything summed up the United failings since 2013, it was constantly allowing managers to call the shots, signing whoever they wanted, sometimes for however much they wanted. Whatever sell Erik ten Hag gave to the United bosses about Anthony, it worked. So much so that they paid an initial £80 million to land the Brazilian, who had been impressive at Ajax, but certainly not a player deserving of that fee. A debut goal against Arsenal was as good as it got, but within months he was a poster boy of another summer of failed recruitment. The damning thing about the environment at Old Trafford is that Anthony has looked a competent player at Real Betis, but joining the Spanish side for £21 million represents a staggering loss. Unproven Hodgland. Not content to spend big on one unproven player sought by Ten Hag, United pulled off the same trick a year later. In need of a striker, the club scoured a market and landed on a 20-year-old Dane who had scored 10 goals in 34 appearances for Atalanta. The then United boss batted away concerns over his age and lack of experience. Instead, he was sold as a player for the long term, one who would develop. Nevertheless, £70 million is a lot to fork out for a project player, one who took until late December to score in the Premier League for the first time. After 2 years, he was deemed surplus to requirements, now at Napoli, who have a £38 million clause to buy him in the summer. Magnificent MUFC. In Italy, Hodgland can class one Scott McTominay, named the best player in Serie A last year, as his teammate. The same McTominay who formed part of a defensive midfield duo with Fred, known as McFred, that were ridiculed at times. The Scot was never seen as a player capable of being overly productive in the final third. His goal-scoring exploits in his final season came as something of a shock, and Ten Hag was happy to move him on for £25 million. For context, Arsenal moved on Emile Smith-Rowe that same summer for even more cash. McTominay would be the big winner from the move, landing an Italian title, a new adoring fan base, and would now command more than double what United sold him for. Ole's final summer falls flat. McTominay was part of the United squad in the summer of 2021 when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, off the back of finishing second, went for it in the transfer market in a bid to take the final step. His spree included the £70 million signing of Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane for £34 million, and the return of Cristiano Ronaldo. Within months, the Norwegian boss was axed following a huge demise. Ronaldo's influence was questioned. Sancho has never lived up to his fee and is due to leave for nothing when his contract expires this summer. Varane, too, left on a free. A summer that promised a lot, delivered next to nothing. Youth undervalued. If Solskjaer did one thing, it was, largely, give youth a go. Some of his loyalties, though, cost the club, as was the case with Dean Henderson. The goalkeeper was a coming man when he returned from Sheffield United, but Solskjaer remained loyal to David De Gea and Henderson's patience ran out. He was sold for just £15 million and has since become an FA Cup winner. Anthony Elanga scored the winner to down United whilst at Nottingham Forest last season. His exploits earned him a move to Newcastle, who paid £55 million to land his services, 2 years after Red Devils had cashed in on him for £15 million. These are by no means two isolated incidents. Alvaro Carreras once called Manchester home, but was never given a look in before being sold to Benfica in 2024 for £7.8 million. A year later, and Real Madrid paid £43 million to bring him to the Bernabeu. United are either undervaluing or underusing these players. Either way, it's not a good look and has an impact on the balance sheet.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to Man United Echo for all the latest news and match action.